Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her command chair, eyes fixed on the stars through the bridge windows of the UHS Defiant. The destroyer patrolled the outskirts of human space, safeguarding mining colonies in the Kepler sector. The work was uneventful, monotonous even, but Elena liked it that way. Quiet meant her crew stayed safe. The bridge was compact but functional. 30 crew members manned their stations, monitoring sensors and running system checks. The Defiant wasn't the largest vessel in the fleet, but it was fast and lethal. Elena had commanded it for 3 years, and in that time they had never been defeated. "Captain," called Lieutenant Rodriguez from the sensor station, "I'm picking up something unusual on long-range sensors." Elena turned toward him. "Unusual how?" "Multiple contacts, ma'am. Very large signatures. They're still distant, but heading our way." Elena rose and walked to the sensor station. The display showed points of light advancing through space toward human territory. There were too many. "How many ships are we talking?" she asked. Rodriguez double-checked his readings. "At least 200, Captain. Possibly more. They're massive, far larger than anything in our fleet." A tight knot formed in Elena's stomach. 200 ships weren't an exploratory mission. They were an invasion. Rumors had circulated about alien civilizations beyond human space, but first contact was meant to happen through diplomacy, not combat. "Red alert," Elena ordered. "All hands, battle stations. Communications, send priority message to fleet. Command, unknown contacts approaching human space in overwhelming numbers." The bridge lights shifted to red, alarms blaring throughout the ship as her crew prepared for combat. Elena knew they were outnumbered, but fleeing wasn't an option. Someone had to warn the colonies. The alien fleet grew larger on the main screen as it neared. Now she could make out individual ships, enormous, each the size of a small moon. Their hulls pulsed with strange, radiant energy patterns. These were not exploration vessels. They were warships. "Incoming transmission, Captain," the communications officer reported. "It's on all frequencies. They want us to receive it." "Put it through," Elena said. The main screen flickered, revealing a being unlike any she had ever seen. Crystalline skin refracted light into rainbow patterns. Multiple eyes adorned its elongated head, and its voice sounded like shattering glass. "I am Admiral Zix Thera of the Galactic Hegemony," the creature intoned. "You primitive beings have entered space without authorization. Your expansion ends now. Surrender your ships and worlds to the Hegemony, or we will take them by force. You have 1 planetary rotation to comply." The transmission ended. Elena stared at the blank screen for a moment, then laughter escaped her. Her crew exchanged worried glances, but she couldn't contain herself. "These aliens have no idea who they're dealing with." "Communications," she said, still smiling. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." "Channel open, Captain." Elena straightened her uniform and looked into the camera. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Human Ship Defiant. You are in human space without permission. This is your only warning. Reverse course immediately, or we will consider your presence an act of war. You have 30 seconds to comply." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. All eyes were on her. Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke first. "Captain, there are 200 of them, and just one of us." Elena's smile widened. "Rodriguez, how long have you served under me?" 3 years, ma'am. "And in those 3 years, have I ever led you into a fight we could not win?" Rodriguez hesitated. "No, ma'am. But we've never faced odds like this." Elena walked back to her command chair. "That's because you're thinking like the aliens. You see one human ship and assume we're alone. Humans don't fight fair, Rodriguez. We fight smart." She activated her command console, sending a coded signal into seemingly empty space. Around the Defiant, space shimmered. One by one, human ships appeared as their cloaking systems powered down. Destroyers, frigates, and cruisers materialized in perfect formation around her vessel. Now we'll see how smart these aliens really are, Elena said. Admiral Zixthera stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Glory. The massive dreadnought was the pride of the hegemony fleet. Its weapons could crack planets, and its shields had never been breached in 1,000 years. "The primitive responds with defiance," reported his tactical officer. "They claim we are in their space." Zixthera's crystalline features reflected amusement. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever refused the hegemony's generous offer of membership. Most surrendered immediately at the sight of the fleet. A few resisted, and they were crushed quickly. "How many ships do they have?" Zix asked. "Approximately 50 vessels, Admiral, all much smaller than ours. Their largest ship is 1/10 the size of our smallest frigate." Zixthera nodded. "Typical. Young species always overestimated themselves. They would soon learn that size and experience mattered in space combat. Signal the fleet," Zixthera ordered. "Destroy 10 of their ships as a demonstration. The rest will surrender once they see our power." But as the hegemony fleet moved into attack formation, something unexpected occurred. The human ships did not form a line. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving at speeds the aliens had never witnessed. "Admiral," the tactical officer called, his voice tense, "the human vessels are moving at impossible velocities. Some kind of instantaneous propulsion system." Zix watched the display, concern growing. The human ships moved like a school of fish, each independent yet perfectly coordinated. "Fire on the nearest human vessel," Zixthera commanded. "Show them the price of defiance." The Eternal Glory's plasma cannons fired, beams of energy capable of leveling cities lancing toward the human destroyer, but the target was gone. It reappeared behind one of the hegemony frigates. "Impossible," Zix whispered. "No ship can move that fast." Then the human ship struck back, not with energy beams, but simple metal rods. Accelerated to a fraction of light speed, they tore through frigate shields as if they didn't exist, shredding the vessel from within. Zixthera watched in horror as his frigate, a conqueror of dozens of worlds, exploded in seconds. Reports flooded in. Other ships suffered identical fates. The humans struck, vanished, then struck again like ghosts made of metal and fire. "Admiral," his communications officer stammered, "our deep space sensors are detecting multiple human fleets approaching from every direction. Hundreds of them." Zix stared at the tactical display. What he had assumed was the entire human fleet was only the vanguard. The real force was still coming. For the first time in his career, Admiral Zixthera felt an emotion he had never known. Fear. His tactical display showed chaos. Hegemony ships were falling faster than he had ever seen. Humans moved through space like nothing he had encountered in a millennium. "Status! Report!" Zix demanded. His tactical officer, a 6-armed Morak, worked frantically. 12 frigates and 3 cruisers lost, Admiral. Humans are using weapons we cannot comprehend. Simple kinetic projectiles moving at impossible speeds. Zixthera watched another ship explode. A human destroyer had cooperating. Elena smiled. Human military doctrine had been forged over centuries of warfare on Earth. Survival meant adaptation, and adaptation meant never fighting the enemy's fight. Let the aliens waste time with their massive, slow-moving ships. Humans will dance around them like mosquitoes around elephants. "Ma'am," her sensor operator called, "the main human fleet is arriving. Admiral Chen is requesting tactical data." Elena studied the display. Dozens of new contacts were appearing throughout the system. These were no longer just destroyers. And frigates. Heavy cruisers, battleships, and even massive human carriers were jumping into the battle zone. "Send all tactical data to Admiral Chen," Elena ordered. "And tell her the aliens don't know how to fight fast-moving opponents. Their weapons are designed for slugging matches, not intercepting high-speed targets." Admiral Sarah Chen sat in the command center of the UHS Yorktown, flagship of the Third Fleet. Reviewing Captain Vasquez's data, a cold satisfaction filled her. The aliens had made a classic mistake, assuming bigger was always better. All units, she broadcast to the fleet, the enemy is using outdated tactics and obsolete technology. Their ships are massive but slow. Their weapons are powerful, but they cannot track fast-moving targets. We will use wolfpack tactics, form hunting groups of 4 to 6 ships, isolate enemy vessels, and destroy them one by one. The human fleet responded like a well-oiled machine. Ships that had been scattered across the system suddenly organized into hunting groups, each with a designated target and plan. Chen watched as her captains executed the strategy. Human ships would surround a single alien vessel, strike from multiple angles, then jump away before the enemy could respond. It was like watching wolves hunt a herd of buffalo. Admiral Zix Thera realized he was losing. His ships were falling, and he couldn't understand how. Humans had fewer vessels, smaller weapons, and less armor. By every measure of space combat, they should have been easy to crush. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "Captain Velman is requesting permission to retreat. He's lost half his squadron." Retreat? Zix Thera barely comprehended the word. The hegemony did not retreat. They conquered, or died trying. Yet as he watched another dreadnought explode under human fire, he understood this battle was unlike any he had fought before. "Sir, I'm detecting energy. Signatures from human ships we haven't seen before," his science officer said. "They appear to be scanning our shield frequencies and adjusting their weapons accordingly." Zix turned to stare. "They're adapting their weapons during battle?" "Yes, sir. Their hit rates improve with each attack. They're learning our defensive systems and finding ways around them." Impossible. Years of study were usually required to understand alien technology. No species could adapt this fast mid-battle. Yet as Zix Thera watched, human weapons grew, increasingly effective. Shields that had protected hegemony vessels for centuries suddenly became useless. Captain Elena Vasquez coordinated her ship's assault on a hegemony cruiser. The Defiant jumped to close range, fired a spread of kinetic penetrators, then jumped away. But this time was different. Her weapons pierced the alien shields as if they weren't even there. "Direct hits," her weapons officer reported, satisfaction in his voice. "Shields are down to 20% effectiveness." Elena frowned. "How is that possible? We haven't changed our weapons." "Ma'am," her science officer called, "I've been analyzing the alien shield technology during battle. I think I've figured out how to disrupt their defensive grid. I'm uploading the data to all human ships now." Elena stared at Lieutenant Park. Brilliant, yes. But what he claimed seemed impossible. "You reverse-engineered their shields in the middle of a battle?" Park shrugged. "Their tech is simple once you understand the principles. They use rotating frequency shields but don't randomize the rotation pattern. Once you map the sequence, you can predict the weak points." Across the human fleet, weapons officers received Park's data and adjusted targeting systems. Suddenly, every human weapon became twice as effective against hegemony shields. Ships that had seemed invincible began dying even faster. "Admiral." Zix Thera watched his fleet crumble. In less than 2 hours, over a third of his ships were lost. The humans had casualties too, but far fewer than expected. Every principle of space combat he had learned over centuries of conquest was failing. "Admiral," his tactical officer said quietly, "perhaps we should withdraw. Regroup. Analyze human tactics before engaging again." Zix Thera wanted to refuse. The hegemony did not retreat from primitives. Yet as another dreadnought exploded under concentrated human fire, he realized these humans were not primitives. They were something else entirely. "Dangerous. Signal the fleet," he said finally. "All ships jump to rally point 7. We will regroup and reassess." But even as he gave the order, Zix Thera knew the truth. The hegemony had not just lost a battle. They had encountered a species that would change the galaxy forever. Humans were predators, and they had just declared their presence to the universe. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the tactical display aboard the UHS Yorktown, watching as more human fleets arrived. Ships appeared from multiple directions, not as a single massive formation, but as separate hunting packs. This was how humans had always fought, not as a single army, but many smaller forces acting in coordination. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "all fleet commanders are requesting orders." Chen studied the tactical map. The alien fleet tried to regroup after initial losses, still thinking like traditional naval forces. They wanted to form a line and fight ship to ship. That was their mistake. "Send this to all fleet commanders," Chen said. "The enemy expects a head-on fight. Instead, we'll use pack tactics. Surround them, cut off escape routes, destroy them one by one. Make them fight our fight, not theirs." Captain Marcus Webb of the destroyer UHS Wolverine received Chen's orders and smiled grimly. He had studied Vasquez's battle reports. The aliens were powerful, but predictable. They fought like they commanded wooden sailing ships rather than spacecraft. "All right," Webb said to the 5 other destroyer captains in his hunting group. "A hegemony heavy cruiser is trying to reach their main formation. Let's show them what happens when they travel alone." The 6 destroyers jumped simultaneously, appearing in a perfect sphere around the alien cruiser. The massive ship found itself surrounded, nowhere to run. Its captain tried to target a human ship, but before locking on, all 6 destroyers fired. Tungsten rods traveling at relativistic speeds struck the cruiser from every angle. Its shields collapsed under the coordinated assault, secondary explosions tearing through the hull. In less than 30 seconds, a vessel that had served the hegemony for 2 centuries was reduced to debris. "Pack leader to all units," Webb broadcast. "Target destroyed. Moving to intercept the next convoy." Across the battlefield, similar scenes unfolded as human pack tactics devastated the hegemony fleet. The aliens tried to adapt, but they faced an enemy that had spent centuries perfecting the art of war. Every human captain acted independently, yet coordinated with the whole. Every crew member understood their role in the larger battle plan. Admiral Zix Thera watched his formations crumble. His ships were being picked off one by one, isolated and destroyed. Before they could support each other, the humans moved through space like they owned it, appearing wherever they wanted, striking with perfect timing. "How many ships have we lost?" Zix Thera asked his tactical officer. The Mordak checked his displays, all 6 arms working frantically. 67 vessels, Admiral. We're losing ships faster than our weapons can track the humans." Zix Thera tried to comprehend what he was witnessing. These humans fought unlike any species in the galaxy. Most civilizations developed space. Combat from ocean warfare. Large ships in formation, trading broadsides until one side retreated. But these humans treated space itself as a weapon. "Sir," his science officer reported, "I'm analyzing human tactics. Patterns emerge we haven't seen before. They're not just fast. They're thinking faster than us. Every move is coordinated with every other. It's as if they share a single mind." "Impossible," Zix Thera said. "No species can coordinate that precisely in real-time combat." Even as he spoke, he saw a perfect example of human coordination. A group of destroyers lured one of his dreadnoughts into pursuit, then led it into a trap where heavy cruisers waited. The dreadnought tried to escape, but human ships appeared behind it, cutting off retreat. In minutes, the massive vessel was destroyed. Captain Elena Vasquez coordinated her portion of the battle from the bridge of the Defiant. Her ship had been upgraded mid-battle with weapons specifically designed for alien technology. Human engineers worked miracles, adapting systems while the fight raged. "Captain," her weapons officer reported, "the new plasma disruptors are functioning perfectly. We can overload alien shields with a single hit." Elena nodded. This was humanity in action. They learned from every battle, adapted to every threat. The aliens had superior technology at the start, but humans were already building better weapons. "All ships, this is Defiant," Elena broadcast to her squadron. Target the command vessel, the large crystalline ship at the center. If we take out their admiral, the rest may surrender. Her squadron acknowledged and moved into position. But as they approached the alien flagship, Elena saw the enemy was finally adapting. Remaining hegemony ships had formed a defensive circle around their command vessel. Interesting, Elena said. They're learning, but not fast enough. She opened a channel to Admiral Chen. Ma'am, requesting permission to try something crazy. Chen's voice returned immediately. What do you have in mind, Captain? A direct assault on their command ship. If we can capture their admiral alive, we may end this without destroying the entire fleet. There was a pause. Then Chen replied, Approved. But Elena, don't get yourself killed. We'll need experienced captains for what comes next. Elena smiled. Don't worry, Admiral. I don't plan on dying today. She turned to her crew. All right, people. We're about to do something stupid and dangerous. We're jumping inside their defensive formation and boarding their flagship. Her crew stared at her. Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke first. Captain, that's suicide. Even if we breach their defenses, we know nothing about the internal layout. Elena's smile widened. Rodriguez, how many times must I tell you? Humans don't fight fair. We don't board their ship. We make them come to us. She turned to her weapons officer. Load the special package in Tube 1 and prepare to jump on my command. The Defiant vanished from its position and reappeared, directly above the alien flagship. Before the enemy could react, the destroyer fired a single projectile. Not a weapon, but a modified missile filled with human, Marines, and powered armor. The missile penetrated the alien hull and deployed its cargo. 50 human Marines, all veterans of multiple battles, found themselves inside an enemy vessel built for creatures 3 times their size, yet they had an advantage the aliens hadn't anticipated. They were born on a world where everything tried to kill them. Admiral Zix Thera felt his ship shudder as something breached the hull. Then the bridge lights failed, replaced by emergency illumination. Report, he demanded. Hull breach on Deck 7, his damage control officer replied. Something is moving through the ship. Security teams aren't responding. Zix Thera realized what had happened. The humans had not merely attacked, they had invaded. In all his years, no enemy had been audacious enough to board a hegemony vessel mid-battle. Send all available troops to repel the invaders, Zix Thera ordered. But his troops were unprepared. Human Marines moved like ghosts, striking from shadows, vanishing before soldiers could respond. They knew exactly where to hit: life support systems, power conduits, weapon controls. Captain Elena Vasquez monitored progress from the Defiant. The boarding action worked perfectly. The aliens were so focused on repelling the Marines that they couldn't coordinate fleet defense. All units, Elena broadcast. The enemy flagship is distracted. Press the attack. End this now. Remaining human ships converged on the alien formation. Their command ship was under assault. The admiral was fighting for his life. The hegemony fleet finally broke. Ships scattered, retreating in every direction. But Admiral Chen was not finished. All units pursue and capture as many enemy vessels as possible. We need prisoners, technology, and intelligence. Let a few escape to report back, but ensure they remember this day. As the battle ended, Admiral Zix Thera found himself a prisoner aboard his own ship. The human Marines had taken the bridge without killing anyone, but made their point unmistakably clear. The galactic hegemony was no longer dominant in this sector. Standing before the crystalline alien, Marine Captain Jessica Torres spoke slowly and clearly. Admiral, my name is Captain Torres. You are now a prisoner of war. Your fleet is defeated and your ship is under our control. Will you surrender formally, or must we continue the hard way? Zix Thera looked at the small human. She was half his size, but her eyes held the same predatory intelligence that had destroyed his fleet. These humans were not just technologically advanced. They were evolutionarily perfected for war. I surrender, Zixthera said quietly. But know this, the hegemony will not let this defeat go unanswered. You have declared war on the galaxy. Captain Torres smiled. Admiral, I don't think you understand. We didn't declare war on the galaxy. The galaxy declared war on us. We're just finishing what you started. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the interrogation room aboard the UHS Yorktown, studying the alien prisoner. Zixthera sat across from her, his crystalline features reflecting the harsh lights. Between them lay the wreckage of what had been the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. I need to understand something, Chen said, calm but firm. Your species has conquered hundreds of worlds. Your technology is centuries ahead of most civilizations. How did you lose so badly to a species you had never encountered? Zixthera's multiple eyes focused on Chen. Even in defeat, he maintained dignity. Your species fights differently. You move like predators, think like predators. Most civilizations develop space combat from naval traditions, large formations, powerful weapons, honorable battle. But you fight, as if the universe itself is your hunting ground. Chen nodded. That's because it is, Admiral. Let me explain something your intelligence clearly missed. We didn't evolve on a garden world. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. She activated a holographic display showing Earth across human evolution. Ice ages covered continents in glaciers. Volcanic eruptions blocked the sun. Asteroids struck with nuclear force. Climate shifted unpredictably, forcing early humans to adapt or die. Every few thousand years, something should have wiped us out. Ice ages lasting millennia. Supervolcanic eruptions turning day into night. Plague, famine, war, natural disasters. Earth threw everything at us. Zixthera watched with growing understanding. Hostile? Chen laughed. Admiral, our world actively tried to exterminate us. But instead of killing us, it made us stronger. Every disaster taught adaptation. Every challenge forced resourcefulness. We didn't just survive, we thrived. She changed. The display to show human history. Tribes migrating across frozen continents, cities rebuilt after earthquakes, farmers adapting crops to shifting climates, warriors developing new tactics for each enemy. By the time we built civilization, we had already survived everything the universe could throw at us, Chen said. Ice, fire, flood, drought, predators, disease, starvation. We conquered it all. And when we finally looked up at the stars, Zixthera remained silent. More hunting grounds, Chen said simply. Every star system was another challenge, another territory. We didn't expand into space despite being from a death world. We expanded because of it. The alien admiral finally understood. You are apex predators. Exactly. On most worlds, evolution produces specialists, creatures, adapted to stable environments. But Earth never gave us stability. We became generalists, able to survive anything. And when you're built to survive everything, everything else becomes prey. Chen walked to the window, gazing at the battle aftermath. Hegemony ships drifted, powerless, while human salvage teams studied alien technology. In hours, humans had learned more than most species in decades. Your mistake, Chen continued, was thinking we were like other young civilizations, peaceful, cautious, easily intimidated. When you arrived with 200 ships demanding surrender, do you know our first response was? Zixthera said quietly. War? No, Chen corrected. Curiosity. We wanted to understand your ships, your weapons, your tactics. You thought you delivered an ultimatum, but we saw a learning, retaliation. But humans had never been content with defensive strategies. Tell Admiral Chen she has authorization to pursue, Santos said. But make it clear, we're not conquering, we're exploring. Any species that wishes to join us, peacefully is welcome. Any that chooses to fight will learn what happens when you threaten humanity. In space, The remaining hegemony ships fled toward their home territories, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. Admiral Zix Thera's second-in-command, Captain Mork, transmitted emergency reports to Hegemony High Command. "The humans are not what we expected," Mork reported. "They fight with precision we've never seen. Their ships move faster than our sensors can track. Their weapons adapt to our defenses in real time, and their tactics—" He paused, searching for words. "They fight like the universe owes them everything, and they intend to collect." The message reached hegemony space ahead of the fleeing ships, and the reaction was immediate. Some species called for total war against the human threat. Others demanded to know how a primitive civilization had destroyed their most powerful fleet. A few wise leaders suggested reconsidering the hegemony's approach to newer species. Meanwhile, human fleets were already moving into former hegemony territory, but not as conquerors. Captain Elena Vasquez, promoted to Commodore after her heroic actions, led a task force to a world that had recently declared independence from the hegemony. Kepler 442b had been a hegemony mining world for 3 centuries, its native population forced to extract resources for their alien overlords. When news of the human victory spread, the locals rose up and expelled the hegemony administrators. "This is Commodore Vasquez of the United Human Federation," Elena broadcast to the planet. "We understand you've declared independence from the galactic hegemony. We're here to assist if you wish, or we can leave you be if you prefer. The choice is yours." The response came from Governor Thexari, leader of the rebellion. "Commodore Vasquez, we've heard of your victory over the hegemony fleet. Is it true humans defeated them in open battle?" "It's true," Elena confirmed. "They came demanding our surrender. We showed them that humans don't surrender to anyone." A long pause followed. Then Governor Thexari spoke again. "For 300 years my people have lived under hegemony rule. They told us it was for our own good, that young species needed guidance. But it was slavery disguised as protection. If you truly offer friendship instead of conquest, we accept." Elena smiled. This was how it would begin. Not with threats, but with offers of partnership. Humans would not rule the galaxy through fear as the hegemony had. They would lead by example, showing a better way. "Welcome to the Federation," Elena said. "Now let's talk about what happens if the hegemony tries to reclaim your world. Because they will. And when they do, they'll learn that humans protect their friends." Across human space, similar conversations were occurring. Species long under hegemony rule declared independence. Confident humans would support them. The strict order the hegemony had maintained for millennia was crumbling, replaced by something new. Admiral Chen received reports from all sectors. Human influence spread faster than ships could travel. The mere knowledge that the hegemony could be defeated had sparked revolutions across dozens of worlds. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different star systems. They wish to join the Federation rather than face possible human retaliation." Chen shook her head. "Tell them we don't accept surrenders from those who haven't attacked us. If they want to join the Federation, they apply like everyone else. We're not interested in ruling through fear. This was the human way, not to conquer, but to inspire, not to demand submission, but to offer partnership." The galaxy was about to learn there was more than one path to building an interstellar civilization, and somewhere in hegemony space, Admiral Zix Thera's warnings were finally being taken seriously. These humans were not just another primitive species. They were something entirely new in the galaxy. Apex predators who had turned the art of war into a science and saw every challenge as an opportunity to grow stronger. The age of human expansion had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The Hegemony Council Chamber had never experienced such chaos. Representatives from 12 species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia sat around a massive circular table, their voices raised in anger, fear, and confusion. At the center, a holographic display showed the devastating battle reports from the Kepler sector. Council Chairman Vextol, an ancient creature whose species had been the first to join the hegemony, called for order with his powerful voice. Silence. We will address this crisis with the dignity befitting the rulers of the galaxy. But dignity was difficult to maintain when facing the impossible. Admiral Zix Thera, recently released in a prisoner exchange, stood before the council to deliver his report. His crystalline features had lost their usual shine, and his multiple eyes reflected the thousand-yard stare of one who had witnessed the unthinkable. Honorable council members, Zix Thera began, we have encountered a species unlike any in our records. The humans of Sol 3 are not merely technologically advanced, they are evolutionarily designed for warfare. Counselor This of the Velmari hissed in disbelief. Impossible. No species develops purely for combat. Evolution produces balance, not extremes. Zix Thera activated his holographic display, showing images from the battle. Observe their tactics. Each human ship operates independently, yet coordinates perfectly with all others. They strike and vanish before we can respond. They adapt their weapons to our defenses in real time during combat. This is not learned behavior. It is instinct. The council watched in stunned silence as human ships tore through the hegemony fleet. Vessels that had conquered hundreds of worlds fell in minutes under coordinated human assault. How many ships did we lose? Asked Counselor Mork. 47 vessels, Zix Thera replied. Against a force a quarter our size, the humans captured our most advanced technology, interrogated our officers, and learned our fleet deployment patterns. They gained more intelligence from one engagement than we typically gather in decades of occupation. Council Chairman Vextol leaned forward. What are you saying, Admiral? I am saying, Zix Thera responded, that we did not merely lose a battle. We have encountered a species that will reshape the galactic order. Humans are not content to remain in a small corner of space. They are expanding, and every species they encounter has a choice. Join them willingly, or be conquered. Across the galaxy, news of the hegemony's defeat spread like wildfire through quantum communication networks. On worlds long under alien rule, the impossible had become reality. The mighty galactic hegemony could be beaten. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Governor Thaxari addressed his people from the capital. Behind him, the hegemony flags had been torn down, replaced with the blue and white banner of the United Human Federation. My people, Thaxari announced, for 300 years we have labored under foreign rule. We were told young species needed guidance, that we were not ready for self-governance. But humans have shown a different path. They offer partnership, not domination, freedom, not servitude. The crowd roared its approval. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as oppressed species rose against hegemony overlords. But not all welcomed humanity's rise. On the fortress world of Terminus Prime, War Marshal Credor of the Zephyrian Empire studied the reports with cold calculation. The Zephyrians, the hegemony's primary military force for centuries, saw human expansion as a direct threat. Marshal, his aide reported, intelligence estimates human forces have established protectorates over 43 former hegemony worlds in the past month. Their expansion rate is unprecedented. Credor studied the tactical displays. Humans were not just claiming territory. They were building alliances across multiple sectors. Every liberated world became a base for further expansion. Prepare. The 3rd and 5th battle fleets, Credor ordered. We will test these humans ourselves. The hegemony may have grown soft, but the Zephyrian Empire has not forgotten how to wage war. Meanwhile, human expansion continued at a staggering pace. Commodore Elena Vasquez, now commanding a full battle group, stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UHS Relentless. Through the viewports, she watched construction of humanity's first starbase beyond original territory. Ma'am, her communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen. She wants our status on the Zephyrian situation. Elena had expected this. Intelligence indicated the Zephyrians were mobilizing for confrontation. Unlike the hegemony's mixed fleet, the Zephyrians were a warrior culture with centuries of experience. "Tell Admiral Chen we're ready," Elena replied. "The Zephyrians want a fight. We'll give them one they'll never forget." But the real transformation was happening not on battlefields, but in the hearts and minds of species across the galaxy. For the first time in millennia, there was an alternative to hegemony rule. Humans had shown that the established order could be challenged. On the Trade World Haven Station, representatives from 17 species gathered for an unprecedented assembly. They came from worlds that had never cooperated before. Former hegemony subjects, independent systems, and even some current members questioning allegiance. Ambassador Sarah Kim, humanity's first diplomatic representative to the power, was assembled, ships of every class glinting in the starlight. Admiral Chen surveyed the formation, calm and resolute. Around her, fleet officers coordinated preparations for exploration, diplomacy, and defense. Humanity's reach extended, farther than ever, but their purpose was clear: protect allies, inspire cooperation, and demonstrate what civilization could achieve when fear was replaced by understanding. President Maria Santos's voice came over the secure channel. "Admiral, status report. Are we prepared for any resistance the galaxy may throw at us?" Chen smiled faintly. "Madam President, we are not just prepared. We are teaching the galaxy to prepare with us. Our fleets are strong, our alliance is growing, and our doctrine spreading. Every world we touch learns not only to defend itself, but to think and act like humans, adaptive, creative, coordinated." Back at the training facility, Captain Jessica Torres oversaw exercises with a joint force of humans, Kepler natives, and former hegemony soldiers. Units executed complex maneuvers with precise timing, anticipating each other's actions seamlessly. Torres addressed them, her voice firm and inspiring. "Remember, it's not just the weapons or ships that make humans dangerous. It's the mindset. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every threat can be countered. Adapt, coordinate, survive, and dominate only when necessary." Across former hegemony space, new governments emerged. Independent systems signed trade pacts and mutual defense agreements, learning from humanity's example. Ancient rivals now collaborated under a shared vision of stability, prosperity, and mutual respect. The galaxy's previous order, built on fear, oppression, and hierarchy, crumbled, replaced with networks of alliance and shared purpose. President Santos observed developments with satisfaction. Intelligence reports indicated 6 major powers were already mobilizing in response to human expansion. But humans had anticipated this, preparing both military strength and diplomatic channels to turn potential conflict into cooperation whenever possible. "We do not conquer," Santos told her advisors. "We protect, we teach, and we build. That is our advantage. Others may react with hostility, but they will learn the same lesson as the hegemony and the Zephyrians. Humans fight not just to survive, but to create a galaxy that thrives together." In orbit above Sol, Admiral Chen watched the stars, reflecting on how far humanity had come. They had faced annihilation countless times on Earth, survived impossible odds, and now carried that resilience across the cosmos. The galaxy had trembled when human warships first appeared, but now it was reshaping itself around human ideals. The age of fear and submission was ending. A new era of opportunity, partnership, and growth had begun. Humanity was no longer just a species among many. They were the standard others would measure themselves against. And at the heart of this transformation stood leaders like Chen, Vasquez, Torres, and countless others, ensuring that the human philosophy of adaptability, cooperation, and relentless curiosity guided the galaxy into a future where challenge was met with ingenuity, danger with precision, and every obstacle with the unwavering resolve of an apex predator.